and Vice Chair of the Transportation Committee on
Yeah, Reva, if you can hear us, we lost you for a little bit. Greg, I'll quick message her and see if we can get her connected again quick.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you are back. Thank you.
Okay, good. Just a temporary loss of sound. I'm not sure what happened, but we will continue. And I'm not sure where we left off, but right now I would like to establish a roll call. So Jenna, can you please call the roll?
Cummings?
Here.
Fredson?
Here.
Gonzalez?
Here.
Pacheco?
Here.
Sterner?
Here.
Zirin?
Present.
Barber? And Chambliss.
Here. With that, we have a quorum. Thank you so much, Jenna. Next is approval of the agenda, which is posted on the council website. If there are any changes or objections to the agenda, please let me know. If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Chair, this is Sterner. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
The motion has been approved by Sterner. Is there a second?
Cummings seconds.
Seconded by Cummings. The motion has passed. Can we take a roll call on the minutes? Sorry about that.
Yes, of course. Barber? Cummings?
Aye.
Fredson?
Aye.
Gonzalez?
Aye.
Pacheco?
Aye.
Sterner?
Aye.
Zirin?
Aye.
And Chambliss.
Aye, the minutes have been approved. Next, we have a report by Tech. We have a report by Tech. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, good.
I can hear you.
It took me a couple more seconds than I thought for my stuff to unmute and load up as well. Maybe things are just moving slow today. Good afternoon, Chair Chambliss and council members. My name is David Fenley. I am the chair of the Transportation Accessibility Advisory Committee. Hello. I'm going to make this short and sweet again today so I can get back to frantically packing up my home because I move tomorrow. I'll just give one update on some activity that we moved on at the last TAC meeting at the beginning of March. So we had a very robust update from Brooke, one of your legislative team members, and we were informed about the House File 1306, Senate File 1513, to institute an administrative citation for fare evadement. I think I said that right. I don't know. But after the legislative update, there was some desire on the committee to potentially support this bill. So we had ourselves another very productive discussion, I would say, and then did unanimously support that bill. We view it as beneficial to the disability community, as sometimes interactions with enforcement on the system, light rail and light rail and buses could stem from a potential disability. So any lessening of interaction we would view as ideal. So we support that, and I plan on typing up a short letter of support, and I will send it to Chair Barber as well as the Met Council Chair. And that is that. I'm happy to answer questions.
Are there any questions on the report from TAC? I am not seeing any hands up. Thank you so much, Mr. Finley, for that report.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
See you next month.
Okay, looking forward to it. Next, we have a report from Metropolitan Transportation Services Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, committee members. Just a couple updates from MTS, both on the funding side of the world. Congress has passed $1.5 trillion of appropriation packages that funds the federal government through the end of September. So it's the full year appropriation for fiscal year 2021. Within that, the bill provides a little over $100 billion to the US DOT, which is an increase above last year. And then within that, there's $16 billion appropriated for transit, other funds for other modes. But this fulfills the infrastructure bill's first year appropriations across both formula and discretionary programs. So it's not yet signed into law. The bill now goes to the president for consideration, but we begin to see the effects of the new infrastructure laws. We're able to make programming decisions in the years ahead. So a good first step. Again, just Friday night is when it passed. So we'll continue to learn more about it. More locally, just a quick update on motor vehicle sales tax receipts. So the state tallied receipts for Invest, and the council's net receipts for the month of February 2022 are 24.2 million, which is about a 4% increase from 2021. And for the last 6 months combined, we're up about 6% versus the same period last year. And then year to date, just above our forecast, about 2% above. So tracking well here earlier in the year, and we'll continue to keep the committee updated as things progress. That's it for me, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You are welcome, and thank you for delivering such good news on the infrastructure bill. Next, do we have a report from our general manager?
We should have Leslie here for that.
Okay.
Yes, Chair Chambliss, committee members, General Manager Koistra is not in the office today, but I am going to give a brief report on his behalf. My name is Leslie Kinderis. I work as Chief of Staff at Metro Transit. So first, I'll just begin with a brief COVID and operations update. We continue to see relatively low levels of COVID among our employees. Since your last meeting on February 28th, we've had 6 positive cases reported, so significantly lower than what we were seeing back in December and January. There were a total of 32 cases recorded in February. As you might have heard on the news last week, the federal mask mandate that's imposed by the TSA for all people on buses, trains, airplanes was announced to remain in effect and has been extended to April 18th. Initially, it was set to expire on March 18th, so it has been extended another month. Shifting a little bit to operations, our bus operator staffing level is about 48 operators below our current service plan. And as you heard at the last meeting, our March 26th service changes will go into effect and will further trim some of our service. And at that point, we'll be even in terms of operators at the start of the pick on the 26th. But in a bit of good news, we had one of our hiring events this past Saturday, and we had 15 attendees who applied and passed the interview at the event. So it's good to see people coming through the door and applying and interviewing. My final two updates are just two events happening this week. First, Thursday is St. Patrick's Day, and for the first time in the past 2 years, Metro Transit will again be offering free rides on St. Patrick's Day. We had suspended doing this during the pandemic. Miller Free Rides is sponsored by Molson Coors, which is the maker of Miller Lite. And from 6 p.m. until the last trip of the service day on all Metro Transit buses and trains, rides are free. So the goal of this partnership is really to celebrate being responsible in one's celebration and just to offer an alternative to driving for people who have been drinking or just want to avoid driving that day. And just for a bit of history, this program actually began back in 1997, and it has provided more than 1.2 million safe rides over the years. And finally, the other event this week is Friday. Friday is Transit Driver Appreciation Day. And for council members, there are a few different ways you can participate, and I know you've received emails about this as well, but all council members are invited to come join our operators at the breakfast and lunch events at all the garages on Friday. We also have staff out at some of our busy transit locations, Mall of America Transit Center, along Nicollet Mall in downtown Minneapolis, and at 6th and Cedar in downtown St. Paul, where we'll be greeting and thanking transit drivers as they go through on their routes. So if you need any more details, don't hesitate to reach out, but certainly invite all council members to participate on Friday as able. So with that, done with my report and would take any questions.
Thank you. Great news with the appreciation event, the applicants, and also the free rides. Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, we will move on. Thank you for that report, Leslie. The next item on our agenda is the consent items, of which there are 4. So I would like to take a roll call at this time.
Chair, do we need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we will take a motion. Thank you for correcting me. Let's have a motion for approving the consent agenda items.
And I'll make a motion for that, Chair.
Zirin seconds.
Okay, it's been approved and seconded. Now we can take a roll call.
Barber, Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Pacheco,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Zirin,
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, that motion is approved. Now we can go to the 6 non-consent items that we have. The first item is 2022-34 JT Budget Amendment, and we have a presentation by Heather.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members. Ed Petrie. I'm with Heather Augustin Hebner. As normal, we're here to present our budget amendment. This is for the 2022 budget amendment. It's our April budget amendment. One of the things I'll say right up front, this is normally one of our larger amendments that we have during the year where we're actually, some funding has become available. We're now moving projects from the CIP into the capital budget. I will go through the information on Metro Transit. First, I'll go through the capital and operating and stand for any questions, and then turn it over to Heather. With Metro Transit, on the capital side, we had no administrative adjustments, but we do have a number of projects that we are closing this evening. We normally, as you will recall, will close projects when they become completed. Either the spending is completed and or the task has been completed. If there's any spending, there's any funding left, we will then reallocate it to other like-type projects so we can finish the grants out. So we are closing a number of projects. The biggest piece of this amendment, though, is authorizing a number of new projects for Metro Transit. As stated, this is one of our largest amendments for the year. funding has become available. So now we are moving the projects from the CIP into the capital budget. I will go over some of the major adjustments to the capital budget and go through a summary of some of the other ones and then stand for questions. Some of the major adjustments, first of all, is with the Metro Gold line. We're bringing in $153.7 million in funds from the respective counties. These funds provide the remaining committed funds from the counties for the Gold Line BRT project, which brings in the county project up to their share commitment of $240.2 million, which is consistent with the capital grant agreements for engineering and construction that the council has between the counties and the council. So it will bring in $153.7 million. We have a large project for IS capital upgrades and enhancements for $1.5 million. This is in concert with the IS capital refreshment program, where we're refreshing all of our PCs, printers, etc. within the Metro Transit family. We were also the recipients of a LONO grant. We're bringing in $4.2 million in federal funds and $5.4 million in RTC funds for the procurement of 8 40-foot electric buses. As I mentioned, this was a LONO grant. It was a discretionary competitive grant that we were fortunate to receive in late 2021. So we're bringing that forward this evening. Some of our other planned projects that we're recommending this evening, we have projects for non-revenue vehicles and equipment replacements. We have some for pedestrian and cyclist detection systems on board Metro Transit buses. We have security upgrades at both our park and rides and at some transit facilities. We have some items that are along with our state of good repair, garage wash rack replacements, support facilities, door replacements. And also then bus mobile column lifts. These are all the lifts within our garages, where we're on a cycle where we're actually going through like about one garage per year replacing all of the lifts. So with that, Madam Chair, that is the majority of the items for the Metro Transit capital portion. And what I could do is I could stand for questions as of this point in time and then move on to the operating portion.
Any questions? Okay, I think we can move on.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you very much. The portion for Metro Transit for the operating budget adjustments, we have adjustments for both bus operations, the light rail, and commuter rail. In bus operations, we're adjusting for a regional $550,000 for an increase in regional administrative allocations. We're doing additional investments in human resources, audit, and OEO. So they hire the staff at regional administration, then they allocate it across to the business units. So we're picking up our portion of that in bus operations. Light rail, we have an increase again in the regional administration allocations for the same items for human resources, audit, and OEO. We're also proposing to program additional federal relief funds, this would be both CARES and CRISA funds, to be used for authorized payroll and operations expenses and additional maintenance due to the pandemic, and also consistent with the terms of the federal grant. So bringing in those funds. And also then we were also the recipients of a $20,000 competitive grant on the light rail for light rail transit safety education. This will include buying some supplies and also providing additional wrapping on our trains to promote safety. And then the final 2 items in our budget amendment for operations is for North Star. It would be picking up the additional regional allocations, as I've mentioned, for the investments in HR, audit, and OEO, and also additional federal relief funds, both CARES and CRISA, to be used for authorized payroll and operation expenses consistent with the grants. And with that, Madam Chair, committee members, I would stand for any questions on the operating portion for Metro Transit before I turn it over to Heather.
Any questions? Councilmember Cummings. You're on mute.
Mr. Petrie. Thank you, Madam Chair. As I'm reading as I read the business item, it's referred to as the Green Light Rail Operation. I assume that's the Green Line Rail Operation.
Oh, does it say green light? Yeah, it is the green line. Yes, thank you.
Good. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
No, we haven't built another transitway, committee member. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks for that correction. Any other questions or discussion on the operations item? Okay. Ed, do you have more, or are we going to turn it over to Heather?
We'll turn it over to Heather.
Okay, there
Thank
you
you.
go.
All right, well, good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Heather Augustin-Huebner. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration for MTS and CD. So we in MTS are not increasing our authorized capital program, but do have a number of capital projects listed in the administrative adjustment section. As a quick reminder, these are items that do not require your approval for us to make these modest changes, but we do share them with you for transparency. Most of the items that you're going to see in this particular budget amendment include some minor moving of money for MTS capital projects, and we're really doing that to spend down our older federal grants first. And then you're going to see suburban transit providers programming some of their undesignated funds. And really what they do is they get a pot of money, which they earn through federal formula earnings, and then it's a local board decision how they want to program those dollars. So that's what you really see in the administrative adjustment section. On the operating side of our budget, we're increasing, similar to Metro Transit, our expenses to account for a pretty modest amount of regional administration expenses. We're also requesting that about $1.3 million in MVEST revenues be transferred from the contracted services operating budget to the capital program, and an equal amount of federal funds to be transferred from the capital program to the contracted services operating budgets. So MVEST funds will be used in the capital program for engines, transmissions, midlife vehicle rehabilitations, and suburban transit providers that are not eligible to be funded with regional bonds. This is an item you see from MTS in many of our budget amendments. It's a dollar for dollar exchange of funds. It has no impact on regional MVEST allocations, MVEST reserves, or planned capital projects. Our pass-through program does have a couple notable adjustments that I want to flag for you. The first is our 2021 pass-through program. So as background, we build our annual suburban transit provider pass-through budget based on the state's motor vehicle sales tax. As you heard from Charles earlier, MVEST has been doing really quite well. And when we have suburban transit providers, by policy, we pass that money along based on a formula. And what that resulted in 2021 is us exceeding our expense authority. It's really nothing we could have really changed too much in advance because we weren't sure exactly how MVEST was going to change. This is really kind of administrative cleanup item for us in our 21 budget. We're also requesting to amend our 22 pass-through program to be increased by just under $17 million to reflect American Rescue Plan federal COVID funding relief that will be passed through to regional providers via grant agreements. This includes Maple Grove, MBTA, Plymouth, Southwest Transit, and the University of Minnesota. This budget amendment demonstrates commitment towards asset preservation and supports the Thrive outcome of stewardship by assessing the future needs, responsible planning, and management of resources for Metro Transit and MTS. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that presentation on the budget amendments. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I am going to ask for a motion on Amendment 20-2022-34, 2022 Budget Amendment. Is there a motion?
Just for us, and I'll move approval.
Fred moved approval and Gonzalez seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, that motion, can we take a roll?
Barber, Cummings,
Aye.
Hudson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Pacheco,
Aye.
Turner,
Aye.
Zirin,
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, that motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have on non-consent items, 2022-45, Bloomington, Edina, Roseville area fixed route transit service for contract 21T290.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm John Harper. I'm the Manager of Contracted Transit Service in MTS. In MTS, we provide about 10% of Met Council's regular route transit service under contract with private companies. We do that in a series of 5 multi-year contracts. This contract that's before you is one of those 5 contracts. The service that is operated under this contract consists of 5 routes that operate in Bloomington and Edina, and 1 route that operates between Roseville and Highland Park in St. Paul. And all of the service is operated with 30-foot transit buses. So those are just slightly smaller than the standard transit bus you see. The RFP was, there were 8 plan holders for this RFP that are service providers. Of those 8 plan holders, 3 proposed on the service. Those 3 proposals were reviewed by a group of 5 that included MTS, Metro Transit, and external representatives. That group reviewed the proposals for the criteria that are shown on your business item. So price is one factor, but there are also qualitative factors reviewed by that group. The group is proposing, recommending to the Transportation Committee that Schmidt & Sons Incorporated be awarded the contract. Schmidt & Sons proposal was ranked as very good, and Schmidt was the lowest cost proposer. Schmidt is also the incumbent, so good news for us. The awarding of this means the transition is a very simple transition for us. So with that background and rationale, I bring before you the proposed action that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a contract 21P290 with Schmidt & Sons Transportation Incorporated to provide regular route transit service under the Bloomington, Edina, and Roseville area fixed route transit services in an amount not to exceed $29,255,000. And with that, I will take any questions you have.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Harper, is 3 responses to the RFP what you would expect on this proposal? Is that about the number that you get when this contract comes up for renewal?
Yeah, Madam Chair and committee member Cummins, yes, typically we have a relatively small number of proposers on our work. 3 to 5 is typical for us, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion for 2022-45 Bloomington, Edina, and Roseville area fixed route transit service contract.
Cummings moves approval.
Moved by Cummings. Is there a second?
Second by Sterner.
Seconded by Sterner. Any discussion? Seeing no further discussions or questions, Jenna, can you call the roll?
Barber, Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez, Pacheco,
Gave us kids and we did
Sterner,
Aye.
Zirin,
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, that motion has passed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next, we have non-consent item 2022-51, downtown and green line switch heater replacement. Is Elliot going to present on this one?
I'm sorry, I got muted here. Still not learning how to proper etiquette of doing online meetings.
No worries.
My name is Mark Lehman. I am the manager in Metro Transit's Engineering Facilities Department. My group works on transit, light rail, and North Star commuter facilities. I am here to introduce Elliot Courtney. He'll present the business item 2022-51, Downtown and Green Line Switch Heater Replacement Design Contract. Elliot?
Hello, chair members and chairperson. Chambliss. My name's Elliot Courtney. I'm project manager for Metro Transit underneath Mark Lehman, working with specifically light rail and North Star commuter rail projects, maintenance, etc. I'm here to present 2022-51. I'm looking to this motion business item is to enter into design contract with Kimley Horn Incorporated to design a replacement for switch heaters for the light rail, Green Line, and downtown Minneapolis light rail system. This is being done to be as the current DC powered switch heaters powered off the overhead catenary are causing corrosion in the track switches, and that corrosion is adding up and is causing issues. So we're looking to enter into design contract with them. We advertised this proposal, received two proposals back in November 2021. Went through a selection process. This is a non-Brooks Act procurement. Went through selection process with committee, a committee, selection committee. Decided on Kimley Horn, and then was able to successfully negotiate the price of the design contract down to $1,342,000. So that's kind of the big picture of what the design contract will be doing. This design contract will also be beyond the switch heater replacements in downtown Minneapolis and along the entire Green Line of the light rail. We're also going to be designing the replacement of the complete replacement of downtown East interlocking, which is over by Norm McGrew, and there were partial replacement of 3 interlockings, light rail interlockings in downtown St. Paul. So that's the extent of the design scope. Are there any questions so far?
Councilmember Cummings. I believe you're on mute.
Thank you. Is this a surprise? This wear and tear, was this unexpected, or is this something that was expected and we're just doing the repair now? And then I'm not sure that I understood what you were saying at the end about other components that were going to be replaced, and will we use different technology then going forward with the Green Line extension, the upcoming Blue Line, those kinds of things? Or is this something, I mean, I guess let's start with, was this a surprise, and will we be having to change out then the rest of the system?
The shorter answer is yes, this is a surprise to some degree. A lot of other major systems use DC powered switch heaters. Chicago, I know it was one on their subway system, and other systems use DC powered switch heaters as well. For some reason, for us, this has caused problematic, so we're switching to AC to completely separate the trains which run on DC and the switch heaters which run on AC. So the AC is going to be a closed loop system versus the DC system, which takes the return current and puts it into the rail and goes back to the substation. Same as the trains take traction power and then from the catenary and then return it through the rail to the substation. So by putting it to AC, it's going to be completely separated and it should end this corrosion. I understand that for the extension, they are aware of this issue. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not involved in that, so I can't speak to what, if any, actions they may be taking for design. I know that the upcoming Blue Line enhancements projects will be addressing this issue for the Blue Line of the light rail system. Currently, we're running a test of AC switch heater components at 32nd Street interlocking, which was also my baby, my project. And that's so far, that's looking promising. But overall, we're expecting that this will end the corrosion issues. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. It's thank you for that information. It's interesting that it is only affecting a portion of the line and that other cities have not had this particular issue. But then I guess there's much about light rail and the electricity and all of the projects that it takes to run something like this that can be unexpected. So that I appreciate your answer. That's fine. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. Were there any other questions? If not, I will stand for a motion. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved by Gonzalez.
Motion was made by Councilmember Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Fredson will second.
Seconded by Fredson. Any discussion? Seeing none, Jenna, can you take the roll?
Barber, Cummings.
Aye.
Fredson.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Pacheco. Pacheco.
So if you're wondering what happened,
Sterner.
Aye.
Zirin.
Aye.
And Chambliss.
The motion is
Chair.
approved.
Chair, I just wanted to flag, I saw Councilmember Pacheco speak. I didn't hear him, so I don't know if his vote was counted, but I just want to make sure his vote counted.
Yeah, I think I was on mute.
I'll record that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That motion has been approved. Okay, next we have item 2022-62JT, the budget amendment, Metro Green Line extension, budget amendment. Mr. Petrie.
Thank you, Chair, committee members. I believe Nick is going to lead off with some opening comments, and then he'll turn it over to me for the amendment portion.
Madam Chair and committee members, Nick Thompson, Deputy General Manager, Metro Transit. So before you tonight, we're bringing forward a budget amendment for the Green Line Extension project. A few weeks ago, the project team and I were in front of the council talking about the fact that we were requesting approval for a settlement agreement with our joint venture contractor on the project, which at that time we announced there would be a delay in the opening date of the project to 2027, and also a need for additional funding to complete the project between $450 and $500 million. At that point, we were seeking approval on an agreement that we had funding for, but we identified that the additional need for funding for the Southwest or for the Green Line Extension project. So tonight is step one in resolving the additional funding. What you're bringing forward tonight is what the ability of the council to bring some federal funding and recognize some existing funding into the project that gets us on step one towards solving the funding. At the time we were before you, we had identified the need, but we had said we were working with our funding partners, both federal, and our local funding partner, Hennepin County, to find a solution. Tonight, we still are working on the overall solution for that funding gap to complete the project. We're getting very close to having the settlement agreement in place to allow us to move forward on the project, continue to move forward on the project. So step one is an important element, as you heard in their original or the budget amendment earlier in the agenda, that there were some opportunities that are presented with us with new funding available federally, forecasts, MVEST forecasts that are shaping our budget and giving us opportunities. And so tonight, Ed will walk through what is fairly complicated, but something we've done before to bring federal funding into a transit project. So I will turn it over to Ed.
Great. Thank you, Nick. Chair, committee members, once again, Ed Petrie, Metro Transit Finance. As Nick had mentioned, this is a capital amendment for the Southwest LRT Metro Green Line extension. This is part, as Nick had talked about, this is part of a larger solution that we're bringing forward. This is a piece of it that we're bringing forward this evening. With this amendment, we'll be asking the council to become a part of the solution for the Southwest LRT portion, asking the council to actually be a $50 million programming $50 million of federal 5307 funds into this project. As Nick did mention, we have had a past where we've done this historically with the Hiawatha Metro Blue Line. Originally, the Metro Blue Line was going to stop at the 28th Avenue station. When we were working on construction of that, the decision was then made to expand that station to, or expand that line to the Mall of America. With that, we worked with the FTA. The Mall of America expansion was about a $38 million expansion, and the council actually did use $30 million of 5307 formula dollars, and then an $8 million of various local dollars and matched funds. So the use of 5307 formula dollars in the Southwest project, we've had the history of doing that with the Metro Blue Line. If somebody can bring up, there is a table. We can bring the chart up. Great, go to the next page. So Madam Chair, committee members, we've just pulled together just a quick chart here to there's a lot of dollars moving around, but I thought I would just explain to you what we're doing at a high level. So overall, with this amendment, we are freeing up $50 million of 5307 dollars, as you can see, moving over to the Southwest project on the right-hand side. This is made up of a couple different pieces. First of all, the first portion of the amendment is based upon a very reliable and very favorable forecast for motor vehicle sales tax. As we have been talking about, and when we adopted our budget this past year, motor vehicle sales tax is coming in very strong. So as a result, we receive our budget, or if you recall, we do receive the motor vehicle sales tax forecasts in the month of February and November. We based our budget, the original budget that the council adopted last December, based upon the November forecast. We then received our new forecast this past February, and it actually improved from November. And it forecasted out the dollars with a significant improvement. So we have the ability now to move motor vehicle sales tax, which could be used for operations or capital. We'll move it down into the transportation capital program. Then we did receive federal relief funds. So with that movement of the motor vehicle sales tax down into operations, we're then going to recognize $40 million worth of federal CRISA money in operations, so that way then the operating budget stays intact. The second portion of the amendment on the capital piece is the transfer of $10 million of debt service into the Metro Transit CIP. Debt service dollars originate from transit bond issuances that have matured and are available to the capital program. By statute, when the council does issue levies, we levy 105% of the anticipated debt service that's needed, and any funds remaining over the overage or that are available after the debt is retired can be used for arbitrage or transfer to the capital program. So there is a balance in the transit debt service account that we are then now going to transfer $10 million into the transit debt or transit capital program. With these two items for both the motor vehicle sales tax and the $10 million and the transit debt service, that allows us then to move, that equals $50 million. That allows us then to move $50 million of federal 5307 funds, just like we did on the Metro Blue Line, move $50 million into the Southwest Light Rail project. In addition, the final piece with the Southwest Light Rail project then is also the recognition of $30,552,442 of Hennepin County funds, which is the $30 million you see on the chart. These are the Hennepin County funds that represent the remaining balance that is authorized in the Hennepin County grant. So we're bringing this now into the project. One of the important things I want to leave the committee members with and the council with is the fact is that by the movement of the dollars from both operating and into the capital budget and recognition of the favorable MVEST, federal relief funds, debt service, and the debt service, the important piece of this is the fact is that the council adopted 2022 transportation operating budget, 2022 capital budget, and the multi-year 22 through 27 CIP plan projects all remain intact. We've moved dollars around to move dollars into the Southwest project, but all the original plans that were adopted with the council's budget in 2022 are remaining intact. One other thing I do want to bring to your attention is that, as you're aware, we will be receiving the federal 5307 formula funds as a part of the bipartisan infrastructure law that was recently passed and signed by the president earlier this year. We're still waiting to find out exactly how much we're going to be receiving, but we do anticipate that will be significantly higher than the $40 million worth of motor vehicle sales tax that we are transferring into capital. And once we know what the federal bipartisan infrastructure funds are, how much, we will consider bringing a future capital amendment back to the council to move the MVEST back into operations. So with that, Madam Chair, that is a summary of the movement of the dollars between operations and capital, still maintaining an intact operating budget and an intact capital budget, and being able to bring in the additional $80 million into the Southwest project. So with Madam Chair, committee members, I would stand, or Nick would stand, for any questions.
Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nick. And I have a couple of questions. First of all, I would like to say that I think that this is really important, and I think it shows that we are working with our partners to really bring every dollar to the table to continue to advance this project, which is so critical, not just to the 5 cities on the line, but to the region and to the entire state. And to be able to continue this project is very, very important. So I appreciate all of the work that has been done to allocate this money and figure out how best we can allocate our resources to be good partners and to continue the project moving forward. So thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions. If MVEST, I know that everything is looking really positive and great, but what would happen if that $40 million that we're looking at did not materialize? The world is in a fluid state right now, and I'm just curious what would happen, or what would be the impact of that?
Okay, Madam Chair, committee members, Ed Petrie again. First of all, what we're doing with the movement, or the adjustment that we're making, we're moving $40 million from the 2022 budget, operating budget of MVEST, down into the capital program, replacing it with $40 million of federal relief funds. Our anticipation then is, once we receive the bipartisan infrastructure funds, would be then to bring that back into the capital budget and then push the MVEST back up into operations, if necessary.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying that. So I guess I just misunderstood that. So that money is available for us to spend, and we would be replenishing the account with the federal funds then back into the other fund, correct?
That's what we're going to look at doing that. Yes. Thank you very much.
Great.
Yep.
Great. And then I'm wondering about the debt service account, the money that we're moving out of the debt service account. Are there additional funds available, or are we using pretty much all the available funds from that particular fund?
Madam Chair, committee members, I believe, if my recollection is correct, I believe the balance in that account was around $16 million.
Okay.
So we're using about $10 million of that. And once again, that would be available. We could use it. It could be used for debt retirement, arbitrage, or transfer to the capital program. So this is money that is left from the 105% levy after we paid off the debt.
Right, right. And it really shows the importance of having that little bit of a hedge so that we're not going down to zero, but we have something to work with, and we're still leaving some, should we need to reallocate in some other fashion, there still are some funds available.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very complicated, and thank you for all of your work, and Nick for that, and for explaining it to us so that we can understand it. And again, it just really underscores us as partners in the project and the importance of everyone coming together to continue this project moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Any other questions? Seeing Councilmember Fredson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I would just say I think that partnering with Hennepin County to resolve the challenges we're facing makes sense. The alternative is that this project would potentially be shut down, which just I think is an unacceptable outcome that would cost more money and time, and we would lose this critical investment in our transportation system for the entire metro and the state. So I think it makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Fredson. I totally agree. Any other comments? Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you. And I think I made this comment before when we were discussing the same or a related matter is since we will be moving monies around and replacing some of the allocations with federal money, I just like for us to be more explicit as to whether there's any opportunity cost or any missed opportunities for funding other programs because of this reallocation of funds. And while I understand, well, my understanding is that the sum total of the money is going to be there. I mean, we're not going to lose money. It's going to be replaced from federal fundings. But in the meantime, is there any projects that are going to be delayed or eliminated or modified while we're doing all of these financial transactions? Again, assuming that there's no actual dollar shortfall, that is just a transactional issue that we're having. And if, of course, if there's any shortfalls, where will those be and which specific programs or services would be affected?
Okay, Madam Chair, committee members, one of the premises when we pulled together this funding plan was we wanted to make sure that the operating budget and the capital budget and capital plan were intact.
Okay.
And with the ability to move the motor vehicle sales tax down from operations down into capital, which is an eligible use, the CIP program, which would be like, for example, for Metro Transit, buying our buses, building shelters, all those types of projects, technology projects, remain intact. And we're able to continue those as the council had adopted with the 2022 capital budget and CIP. We won't skip a beat with those projects. The same thing with the program of the federal dollars on the operating side. We're transferring the MVEST down, but we're able to bring the federal dollars in to offset that. So everything we had planned for service on bus operations remains intact. We're running at a 95% service level in 2022. We're going to be able to continue to run at the 95% service level. Then the final piece is once we know what the bipartisan piece is from the president, we can then bring those dollars back in. So it's orchestrated a number of movements that we're doing here. But like I mentioned, the premise was to make sure that both the operating budget, capital budget, and CIP were left intact as you had originally adopted, and that is the case.
Madam Chair, if I could add.
Yes, go ahead. I saw you.
That the bipartisan infrastructure bill really creates an opportunity here that, we are not using all the funding. We're getting a major increase in capital through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We are by no means using all of that. So we are actually have additional funding that will be coming into our capital budget over the next several years from that bill that we will be able to add additional priorities in across our system. So it was just a good timing with that federal bill that allowed us to keep our operating and capital programs as we had planned them whole, take advantage of that in the short term, but also just recognize that, as you go through the capital budget process and we learn more about the new federal bill, there'll be many new opportunities in our system over the several years that are created by the federal bill for new programs, new projects, new investments beyond what we had planned last year.
Thanks. That's good additional
Thank you.
information to have. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions, so I think we can take a motion on this item number 2022-62 JT 2022 budget amendment for the Metro Green Line extension budget. Is there a motion?
Cummings moves approval.
Zarin seconds.
It's been moved and seconded. So at this point, I will ask if there's any discussion. If there's no discussion, then let's take a roll call. Jenna, please.
Barber, Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Pacheco,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Zirin,
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, that motion is approved. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Welcome. The next item that we have is 2022-58 Metro Green Line Extension, ACOM Contract Amendment number 12 for ACOM Contract Amendment number 12.
Well, Madam Chair, this is Jim Alexander, Project Director, and committee members. I have this item is an amendment to our existing contract with AECOM for Advanced Design Consultant Services. We've had this contract with AECOM since 2014. Essentially, it's a contract to provide design and design support services as we're in construction. We have amended this a couple of times in terms of money. You see in the background of the business item, we added $2 million back in 2018 for additional design and engineering support at that time, and then in 2019 we amended to add amount of 20.6 million to the contract for support services. The current contract amount is just about 140 million, and we are looking to add 10.6 million to this contract for to make a total of not to exceed 151 million. This will get us through the year 2022. We will need these services beyond that time, but we had made the decision at this juncture just to take us through 22, particularly with the budget issues that we have, and to see us through this this year of construction. And so the consultant has been doing a very good effort in their DB participation. There is a goal on this contract of 19%. They've been around the 20%. They're currently at 19.8% through the end of the year, and doing very well in that regard. And so, Madam Chair, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Alexander. With that, we will take a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
Cummings
Move by
moves
Gonzalez.
approval. Go ahead.
Cummings moves approval. Is there a second?
Second by Gonzalez.
Second by Gonzalez. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Jenna, can you call the roll?
Barber, Cummings,
Aye.
Fredson,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Pacheco,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Zirin,
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, that motion has passed. Thank you so much. Next, we have business item 2022-59, Metro Green Line Extension, Braun Intertech Corporation, Contract Agreement Number 2 for Quality Management Services, Contract 18P018.
All right, Madam Chair, this is Jim Alexander again. I'll present this item, Project Director for the Green Line Extension. So Braun Intertech is the lead on this contract, Quality Management Services. They assist us with the quality check out in the field for the civil construction work. They're testing concrete, testing soil, actually plant inspection as well. A lot of elements that this contract touches. And we are needing to add monies to this contract. So we're looking to add 7.8 million to a total of 43.8 million. The original contract, it was awarded back in November 2018 to just over 36 million, and for the quality services, and we're looking to extend that through the 22 construction season, similar to the advanced design consultant contract. We want to get us through this year, and we will reassess project needs as we get into the following year, 23 and beyond, for the civil construction. So, Madam Chair, this is also a contingent upon the approval of the 2022 budget amendment for the Green Line extension that Mr. Petrie had presented, that 2022-62 JT business item. So, Madam Chair, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions? Councilmember Gonzalez.
Thank you. And just taking a step back and looking at all these additional amendments for additional resources on projects that were already bid out and signed. I mean, is there any lessons or changes in our approach that we can take so we don't have this situation of overruns and then having to request additional funds after the project was started? And I understand that, you know, nobody's a mind reader and we cannot figure out every possible contingency, but I guess my point is, are there any contingencies that should have been foreseen and for whatever reason were not, and that's why we have to request this additional fundings? And if so, what are there any lessons that we can learn from this process? Thank you.
Well, Madam Chair, council members, yes, that's a big question on this project. As we have talked in the past, this project has undergone several key issues that have caused us to have need more time and more money for the project, and that related to the border protection in the eastern part of the project, the Kenilworth Tunnel, the issues with that, and the Eden Prairie Town Center Station. I would say lessons learned for me personally, you need to avoid working next to freight rail and avoid tunnels. Those are two key elements that will help mitigate. But got to keep in mind that these mega projects, and this is a mega project, that there are going to be issues on these type of projects that I think it's more of how you respond to them. And you try to get as much contingency in place as you start the project, but you need to be really kind of at the ready to address issues as they come through. And I think the important key is to be dynamic in resolving. So these contracts are really being amended because we need more time, and the contractors can be out there longer, so we need our consultant help to be out there more longer than we had anticipated.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I'll just add to that that's a great question, and it's a question we've taken definitely to heart, and we are, that we have projects coming that we want to learn our lessons. Our Blue Line extension is our next big project. That one, we will not have a freight rail issue on that. We would have a couple of years ago, and I think it's, what we've seen on Southwest, that's been important. Our green and purple lines, just in simple things on how we're procuring contracts, we've really made some changes. We're taking the lessons we've learned on this project and past ones and trying to always make it better the next project. I think we're going to take a lot, and Jim's team is working with the teams on the other projects to share their knowledge and understand where they had issues that can be definitely protected the council against on future projects. So there's been really strong collaboration on that. So I think, this is an outlier because of the freight in the tunnel. Our past history has been delivering our major projects on time and under budget. Jim knows from his experience in Central. We finished that project under budget and on time, and so it's just there's a couple of unique parts of this, but clearly we will make our next project. We always take what we've learned and because things change and we've learned on consulting contracts and on professional contracts and construction contracts where we can make our procurement stronger in the future. So.
Thank you for those very good questions and those thorough responses. I and several other council members did take a tour of the Southwest Light Rail line and the path that it takes. So understanding how complex that project is and the process for construction, that tunnel area being a very tight space that they've had to work through, the project being 60% complete. We want to make these changes and these funding amendments so that we can get past that 60% and get it to completion. Any other questions before we move on to Councilmember Fredson? Oh, and then I see Jody has her hand up.
Jody can go first, yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Fredson. Madam Chair and committee members, Jody Jacoby, I'm the director of the procurement department, and certainly some of the challenges that we've had, as Jim mentioned, with this mega project have not gone unnoticed in procurement. And we have been working collaboratively and collectively with our internal office of general counsel and also with some of our public agency partners, including MnDOT and the Association of General Contractors, looking at not only being having active and proactive engagement with our contracting documents, also with our contracting community, so we can get some of that feedback before we go out to the street and advertise. And we are looking at doing some things better and differently. And this mega project has also been caught in the tangle of all the pandemic issues and the supply chain issues and those persistent and consistent issues. And we do have some different tools, and I just don't want to overlook that procurement is again working with our very strategic partners, but to look at how we can strategize to be more effective with some different opportunities with the procurement process. Thank you.
Thank you for providing that additional information and perspective. Councilmember Fredson.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, this has been said before, but I just want to remind folks we've had a number of projects that have been built on time and on budget or under budget. I think that this the Green Line extension is a outlier, and you know I'm all for learning lessons and applying those lessons to the future. I think we also can't overcorrect, and if you look at you know the decision to seek funding for a Blue Line extension, if you look at Riverview, and I serve on the Riverview PAC, you know, I've heard the chair at the legislature and maybe even with us refer to these, you know, investments in LRT specifically or rail specifically as investments in our spine. And I just think it's, you know, I agree we need to learn lessons. I also think it's important that we don't overcorrect and not build the kind of system that we need to build in order to be economically competitive with other regions, create jobs, connect people from their homes to jobs, to entertainment, etc. So I think we just got to do what we got to do here. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilmember. Not seeing any other hands up. So at this time, I believe we're ready to take a motion for approval. Is there a motion to approve?
It's Fredson. I move approval.
Moved by Fredson. Is there a second?
Cummings seconds.
Seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Jenna, can you please take the roll?
Barber Cummings.
Aye.
Fredson.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Pacheco.
Aye.
Sterner.
Aye.
Zirin.
Aye.
and Chambliss.
Aye, and with that, the motion is approved. Thank you so much, everyone.
And then Chair, which items would you like to go consent, if any, to council?
Sure, give me a second and I'll take a look. I think we can have items 1 through 3. Is everyone in agreement with that? Okay, I'm not hearing any objections, so let's go with 1 through 3.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't mean to be on mute. What are you saying? Those would be on non-consent or consent?
Those would be on consent, 1 through 3.
May I make a comment?
Sure, go ahead, Councilmember Cummings.
I think that all of these items are critically important that really need to go in front of the entire council. I think to make sure that we're all in the loop on all of these issues and have the support or non-support. So I would actually propose that they all be on non-consent.
Okay, I'm good with that, and I would agree with that. So let's go ahead and put all of items 1 through 6 under non-consent items at the council meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome. So with that, we have completed all of our business items. Does anyone have any information that they would like to share at this meeting?
No.
I am not seeing any items that folks want to share. So with that, we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the lovely weather that we're expecting to get for the rest of the week. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.